Right, here is Firestar issue 1, number 1 in a 4-issue limited series. This is our origin and our introduction to the Firestar character in Marvel Comics. As her origin, this is essential reading. As an obsessed Emma Frosty's lover, it is also essential reading. But you will quickly try to move the goalposts to exonerate her of wrongdoing by virtue of her not actually being outwardly evil until the end. If you don't read her thought bubbles, Emma Frosty's is the nicest, bestest teacher ever in this. And that is closer to my idea of Emma Frosty's than her being so abusive and sinister. This as the creative team of Tom Falcon and Mary Whitehouse, with some quite bad inks throughout. And it takes place before Uncanny X-Cellent-Men 193, which I will explain in a bit. Tom Falcon writes a very likeable female teen in the pages of McTwo's Spider-Woman. And his Firestar is nice and sweet, but there is some here where she seems... He is writing her as younger than she appears. She is far too much of an ungen. She comes across as a bit simple, too. Like she's a tad developmentally delayed. And I hate saying that because I love Firestar as a character. And I like this miniseries, but there is something off about how she is written. And I blame Tom Falcon for that. Ideally, I would love to see a female writer handle this. Where's Lewis Simon? She'd have been good on this. Melissa Jo Hart. She did Falling Angles a few years later. And Firestar would have slotted into that series quite well. And Nonsense might have made it a bit too dreary and ponderous. On a more generic front, they could have gotten Crandall. Had Mindy Simmons started writing yet? That might be all the women writers who were allowed in at the time. Even with the lack of a female voice guiding it, this still has its appeal. Our main character is rootable. She is a character that is very hard to be opposed to. She is nice, she is friendly. Her difficulties are that she is obscenely naive and innocent. I'm not sure what possessed Tom Falcon to make her such an over-the-top wallflower. I have never seen the cartoon she was in. I was living in my dad's ball sack at the time. We didn't have a telly in there. From what I have gleaned, Firestar wasn't like this. Wasn't she quite confident and impulsive? I know she had cake for days. Her arse, I mean, not desserts. Her arse was so big, they made it smaller each season. That is all I really know about the cartoon. Firestar is a mutie, and the X-Cellent-Men have every intention of going to recruit her for their special school. But they will be beaten to the punch by their rival school. Emma Frosty's will get to it first, and God, I love this woman. The main problem I encounter with this series is I love Emma Frosties and want Emma Frosties to forego the scheming and be nice to Firestar. I want Emma Frosties to be the character she eventually became, where she wouldn't torture Firestar as much as she does. Of course, this is when Emma Frosties was a paper-thin villain character, thanks Christopher, and her school is a front for evil and neglecting children and brainwashing kids. Thanks again, Christopher. All the great depth to Emma Frosties and her position as a teacher came much later on, courtesy of better writers. Of all the new warriors, Firestar is the one I would put at the top. She is my favourite of those characters. Maybe, despite my criticism of it, maybe it is in part because she is so innocent in this. Even after all the abuse she undergoes at the hands of Emma Frosties, she doesn't break. She doesn't become bitter or jaded. She remains a nice person. Or maybe she is my favourite because Emma Frosties is involved in her origin. This is a very slow-paced series. It is a character story. It's really all about Firestar as a young girl and her muty powers emerging and the way she is taken advantage of by a villainous Emma Frosties. It's not bad at what it does. I can see some people saying it is unexciting or too slow, too light on plot, too minimalist. Firestar is a mutie who is a pyrokinetic. She can create flames from her body. It gets more in depth and involves microwave energy and radiation, but at its core, she is a fire one. That's all you need to know. She can generate fire and flames. She had appeared before this in Uncanny X-Cellent-Men 193, where she was rushed into a story because Christopher Clairvoyant wanted to do his usual trick of claiming characters. He wants to fool people and his insane fan base that he was the creator of Firestar. Firestar appeared before that though. Firestar appeared before that in comics too. Non-canon comics, but she appeared in them. Firestar was created for a cartoon called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. She was designed by Junior Senior and she was original to the show. She was also expressly created as a female version of Human Fire. This series is going back and showing her origin, even though in canon she had already appeared in an issue of X-Cellent-Men. This is filling in the blanks and explaining how she wound up in the place she was when Christopher Clairvoyant threw her into his story. I don't know how much of this was planned, or if it was last minute having to adhere and adapt react to what Christopher Clairvoyant did. There's very little actual reference to that story or what happens in it in this miniseries. And I can't imagine they would let a big cross-media character with so much potential be expended and squandered by a selfish Scottish git. This is heavily keyed into and tied to the Excellent Men books. We have Emma Frosty's appearing, we have her school and her students. Emma Frosty's presents herself to Firestar as a caring, loving teacher figure who wants to look after her and what's best for her and teach her about her muty abilities. And as much as I want that to be the case, it's not. She aims to manipulate Firestar over years into being dependent on her and basically a weapon. I would have loved if Emma Frosty's came to me in my teen years and took me away and took me under her wing, and she pretended to care about me and she pretended to love me. She could make me into a weapon. She could neglect and torture me all she wants. It would still be preferable to living with my mum. I do recommend this. There's some things I don't like about it, but Firestar is so likeable, and I love Emma Frosty's. And it's not written by Christopher Clairvoyant, so it's one of those Excellent Men stories I can actually enjoy. It has its faults, but it's better than the same old, same old. I'll give it 7 thumbs up.